Eureka! You've thought of your great new coaching program name and you are out in the world getting those domains, those social handles, talking to your team, getting the graphic designer going. But wait until we walk through the steps in this video all about what you need to do and how to check that that name actually is available for you to start using. And before we dive in, I want to remind you, make sure you like and subscribe because we are in the middle of our Courses for Coaches series, and we're taking a detour into what coaching methods we can include in a course, how we protect them, including in this video, the names, and in our upcoming videos, the content. So click that button and let's dive in. There's so much to know about using a name, and that may sound actually so simple, but being careful that the name that you're using is available is one of the least known, but actually highest risk things that a coach does in a coaching business. So we're going to keep it simple and short in this video, and I'll also let you know where there are areas for expansion on this topic, but I want you to leave this video today feeling like you have a good sense of what you're looking for, what steps to take before you hit publish on your newest sales page that contains an amazing new name, and stay to the end because I will give you my tips on the free and paid ways that you can protect these all important names in your coaching business. So let's start out. First of all, when it comes to a coaching method, you cannot protect the method. That is the subject of a different video about what we do instead. But most coaches are following some kind of pathway or methodology when they're working with clients. That has a ton of value in their business because it what drives results. It's what customers attach to. And those results and attachments are what they're out in the world talking about. So we definitely don't want other people riding your coattails and using that without your permission. So it's kind of crazy that we can't protect it directly. But what we can do is protect the things around it that stick in our clients' minds, and that includes the name and our content. So in this video, we're talking about the names, of course. Content will be next up, but with names, because our clients attach to them so much, this means they're a very high value item in our business, and we want to be able to confidently invest in that name and use it, knowing we're not stepping on anyone else's toes. And we want to be able to stop later users as well. So big tip for you here, just by being the first to use a distinctive and not descriptive, we'll come back to that, name in the marketplace to sell your goods and services, you have a trademark. You don't actually have to register your trademark to have it, but there are tons of incredible not to miss benefits of registering with the United States Patent and Trade Office that you're going to want to do that as soon as your budget allows. Now, when you have that trademark, you have exclusive rights to use that. No one else can use that terminology. So you can imagine that if no one else, when they're speaking the English language, can use that phrase, it can't just be your run-of-the-mill, common sense, industry-related terminology. That's either too descriptive or even generic. The Trademark Office, and really the trademark law in general, is not going to give you those exclusive rights unless the name is super distinctive. So think about Google. It has absolutely nothing to do with search, but for all of us, we immediately know what we're talking about when we're talking about Google. In fact, it's a math term. A pea in the pod, maternity. Peas and pods don't have anything to do with maternity, but it evokes the brand for us because they've done a really great job. And probably the biggest and most well-known trademark worldwide is the golden arches. So think about this. No matter where you're traveling in the world, when you see those golden arches, you know that you're going into a McDonald's because McDonald's is not letting anybody else ride their coattails and use that brand. It's highly distinctive. Of course, a McDonald's is nothing to do with a hamburger joint, but we have so closely associated them now that they're practically one and the same. That is a mega high value brand asset. So when it comes to your business, you're going to want to focus on names that are highly distinctive. And this always has a practical benefit as well, because we don't want a name that's kind of descriptive that other people are sort of using the same or similar name also in your industry. A few years ago, we were seeing terminology like alchemy, an alchemist, used by a lot of people. And sure, the first person to use that, it's highly distinctive, it sounds beautiful, but when everyone starts using it, it kind of just becomes another run-of-the-mill term that doesn't help you stand out in the marketplace. So remember what I just said earlier, which is that these are the names that our customers attach a high value to. So we want them to associate that name with you and not just any old other coach that might be out there in the world. So this is what it means to have a distinctive name as opposed to a descriptive one, which might be something like Sally's Coaching or the Money Mindset Method. These are things that are becoming even generic, if not interchangeable in the marketplace. Now, there's a lot of marketing education out there that wants you to name your program in such a way that your clients know exactly what they're getting. And I definitely see the value in that. Just understand, though, that other people can also use names like that because they're not entitled to trademark protection. So a hot tip for you would be come up with a distinctive name and a descriptive tagline. This way you can get the best of both worlds where your clients know what they're buying, but also it has a distinctive name that just makes you come immediately to mind when they hear it. So other information that's floating out in the world that can be confusing about trademarks, really two that I want to touch on. The first one being that buying the URL or having the social media handles means that you have some kind of rights in the name. Having a book title means that you have some rights in the name. And actually, in those three cases, you have zero rights to the name. You are in the same position before you buy or secure those handles as you are after. Very surprising, right? And that is because the trademark office is not concerned with ownership or how you're out in the world, except that you are selling a product or service under that name. So until you're doing that, until you have a page somewhere or a flyer somewhere or an email blast has gone out that lets your potential customers know that they can buy something under this name, you do not have any rights yet. So this is a really good point because a lot of people go out and they do kind of a general search to see if anyone else is using the same or similar name. They check for domains, they check for social handles, they may even check to see if someone has registered the trademark with the trademark office. None of those things, unless you find a living live registration, really give you the full picture. It needs to go a little deeper than that when it comes to searching. So we're going to come back to that in a minute. But when it comes to availability, you want to see that you are first. And there are a few places you can look for that. Of course, you can go back pretty deep in the Google search, but you can also use the Wayback Machine, which is available at archive.org. This will help you see when someone that you come across began actually using the name, so you can determine if you're going to be first. Because if you're not first, it means that you are infringing. And you do not want to be in a situation where you have invested time and energy into promoting a brand, probably money too. And then come, some period of time later, someone sends you a cease and desist letter saying, hey, I was first, you have to stop. It really is that cut and dry. And there's no, I didn't know or good faith excuse. There can also be some penalties attached to that. So you don't want to have that morale killing experience because you went out and you either didn't search or you didn't search well enough. Now, I do want to also mention, this may have been confusing a couple of statements ago, that unless they're in there with a live registration, you're kind of in a no man's land in the trademark office. Just because someone is not registered doesn't mean you can just use it no matter what else is happening out in the world. Okay, so a registration is a great way to know that you've got somebody who's serious about protecting the name, but they don't have to be registered to stop you from using the name. So let me know in the comments if you have questions about that. But you can see why trademark registration is a good idea because that's where sophisticated people who would be hard to fight, people who are in the know, are going to that trademark database to find what names are available and which ones aren't. So it's a good idea for you to get in there for sure as soon as you possibly can. At the end of this video, I'll give you some tips on how to do that affordably and quickly, as well as some details about the process itself. One last thing before we get to that is sometimes clients will come to me or coaches will come to me and they'll say, someone's using a name like this. but I'm going to add a word at the end, or I'm going to have a different spelling. I'm going to put some words together. I'm going to make some sort of adjustment so that it's not exactly the same. Unfortunately, we're not worried about names that are only exactly the same. We're worried about names that have a similar commercial impression. So a good example for you would be if I wanted to go out and register as a hamburger joint called Mickey D's, you can be sure that McDonald's is going to be jumping down my throat because that MCD at the beginning is really memorable. It's what we call the formative part. And even Mickey D's has some cultural cachet as being associated with McDonald's. Even though it's not even really close to the same, I am going to be infringing. And so you have to understand that the trademark office and the trademark law considers consumers to be pretty busy and not paying that close of attention. So generally, if it has the same look, the same feel with some minor adjustments, you should steer clear of those names. All right, before we go, let's talk about some free and paid ways to protect your names. First of all, after being sure that you can even use this name to begin with, you can start putting the TM after the name. This is what we call a public notice, and it just lets other people know if they're out doing their own search that this is a name that you view as protectable and protected. This lets people know that it's you consider yourself first, you consider this a distinctive name that you can protect, and that you're out in the world selling under this name. But you need to be making yourself available for sales of a product or service under that name in order for you to have what we call a common law or unregistered trademark. The next thing that you can do is in your paid programs, especially, you can have a welcome video that lets your clients know that they are going to encounter some of your proprietary terminology, names, phrases, those types of things. And a lot of infringement is very unintentional. And so just simply having this conversation upfront is a great way to minimize a ton of infringement. Now, the next best thing for you to do is to get that trademark registered. I have a whole program called Trademark Assist, which is an affordable way to understand exactly how to do this search in a really methodical way. And I promise it will change the way that you brand and name programs forever. In there, though, you'll learn the steps, you'll learn what the trademark office is looking for so that you can confidently move forward in those applications without having to do it yourself and wing it and pay, God knows how much to some random service that's not going to help you understand what you really want to protect, plus jeopardizes your $350 filing fee with the trademark office that is non-refundable. So when you come into this program, you'll get a readiness review from me so that I can eyeball your application before you submit it, help you save those filing fees, but also it doesn't require a $2,500 retainer to work with a lawyer. So that being said, trademark registration is really important to do sooner rather than later. This is a changed position for me. I used to tell clients that, wait until you're really using the name for a while, you're really committed to it. But for a series of reasons that are not super important for this video, but I want to let you know are there, I have really changed this position with clients. It takes quite a while to get your trademark application handled by the trademark office. And if you wait, someone who doesn't know about you but started using the name after you can get the registration first. Then you will have to cancel their registration before you can get your own, because first is always the most important. Not first to register, first to use. So sometimes mistakes are made where trademarks get registered even though they're technically not the first user and don't have rights to it. I'll put all the details about Trademark Assist below, but I encourage you to take a look at your budget for the next 6 months to 1 year. See where you can afford to put $500 to about $1,000 if you work with me for that trademark registration, or $2,500 to $5,000 if you're going to go with a full-fledged, full-service law firm, and make this a business priority because, as I mentioned at the beginning, clients really attach to these names. They're a huge brand asset, and the sooner you start using those names, the sooner you get them registered, the easier it will be to stop later users from also using these names. There are no trademark police, folks, so this is going to be on you to draw that line in the sand early and often. Before we go, one final tip: don't use that R in the circle unless you're actually a registered trademark holder from the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. Otherwise, it is misleading marketing. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe to let the world know, and so you don't miss our next piece in the series all about protecting your coaching methods and your coaching content. I'll see you there.